Good evening, folks. This program, Apolitically Correct, is usually hosted by KIAN Jabbour. He is not here today, so we have a different panel altogether. I'll introduce the panel. Myself, my name is Jonathan Subrian. I'm an attorney. And to my left is Mr. Neil Stanton. He's a teacher. And to his left is Mr. Javier Ali. He is in security. Just as a caveat, that the discussions we're having this evening here is not connected or is not a driven fact because of ANOG, but we are all members of ANOG. So this is not a reflection, nor has this been okayed by ANOG. This is basically our take on the situation. We have several different topics to talk about, and we'll go through them one after the other. And one of the first topics I would like to talk about is carbon monoxide and how does it affect the Guyanese community. I live on the west coast of Demerara, and daily there are folks who are lighting garbage in their backyards, and the monoxide, the smoke comes into the yard, filters into the house, into the clothing, into the food, the utensils, everything else, and there's always a smell of smoke. But more importantly, the inhalation of the monoxide does create a havoc to the respiratory system. And it's not contained to one household. Wherever the smoke goes, it affects the respiratory system of children, adults, old people, babies, and everybody else in the environmental surroundings. Now, I know in my neighborhood, individuals pay either Sivan or Puran brothers to pick the garbage up. And most people, A, perhaps don't have the money, B, don't have a cooperation with their neighbors to actually pay to fill this barrel. Hence, many of them would want to burn the garbage so far in their backyard, and and then affects everybody with the smoke. But there is another side to that. And Javid, what happens in your neighborhood?
Well, I live in Eccles, and the garbage is free, collected free by C1s. So there got to be the NDC probably in charge of that, because I usually have 2 drums, and they come every Saturday morning around like 10 and 11 within that hour to pick it up, and I never pay them. So it had to be an initiative of the government through the NDC to pick up the garbage.
Neil, will you have that problem on your side?
I don't have that either, because our garbage usually picks up on a Friday. So I'm wondering, how that is happening over there. With us, it probably have to do with the mayor and city council. And I'm wondering if you're paying taxes, why is it you still have to pay extra?
Hey, where's your location?
I'm located in North Rumfeld.
Okay, so you're in the Georgetown environment, basically. So you're part of the Georgetown, the city of Georgetown.
Yes.
So whatever happens to around the city of Georgetown will affect you positively or negatively, as well as the other environment that makes up Georgetown per se.
Yes.
But Eccles is not
No, that's the outskirts of Georgetown.
Outskirts. So then either there's a subvention involved, or rates of taxes paid in that neighborhood by NDC that actually facilitates the picking up of the garbage and paying the people who are picking up the garbage. Not so in the West Coast, where I'm from. It's Puran brothers, and they come there, and the guy has the book, and he collects the money. I've seen him collecting the money from the different folks to pay for the garbage pickup. Now, it brings now another question: why cannot this be made universal throughout? Why is it some places you have it's being reimbursed either by the local government or into subvention from the central government, and other places like my area here, people have to pay? Because to me, the healthcare system is going to get overburdened with people going in with various illnesses, etc., from the inhalation of the carbon monoxide. And to me, that's a very big concern. And I'm hoping and praying that the government of Guyana and the local government as well are listening to this and perhaps going to find a resolution to this, because there'll be more of an overburden to our healthcare system from monoxide poisoning, or you can have the monoxide within you and it can lead to several other ailments. So what do you think, Niall? What do you think?
Definitely something got to be done. I mean, with a case like that, the health system is already overrun, and so if I stand corrected, but I think we Guyana usually get funding for the low carbon initiative.
Yes.
So if we're getting all our money, I think that money should also return to its people in terms of paying for the garbage to remove and so forth. It definitely means that the persons who are in charge of the different areas, our councillors and so, they need to step out and work and see what's going on. You know, because I mean, I have not had to pay for any of my garbage being picked up. Even when I used to live by my mom before I moved to where I'm located, both areas, we've never. I've seen a few times though in Sophia, while I was driving through Sophia, I've seen individuals paying for the garbage to be picked up on a morning. So that's definitely something that the government need to work on. Because at the end of the day, you're supposed to be working for everybody. Also, the location that you're located, like for instance, Georgetown, the Mayor and City Council, they being in charge of Georgetown, Sophia, and a few other areas that I've seen this. They need to also come out and work because people are paying the taxes, and if you're paying your taxes, you're expected that certain benefits.
I'm glad you said it because there's another side to that, and the other side is that maybe the people who lives in the surrounding areas or the local entities, maybe they're not paying their rates and taxes as they should on an annual basis, and perhaps that could also contribute to not having enough money in the local NDC to offset some of these facilities we're looking for. But then should not, if that is the case, should not a letter be sent out to the ones who are not or have not paid the tax and let them know that they need to pay the taxes and perhaps add maybe 6%, 8% surtax over that. If you don't pay it, the money sees, to disincentivize them from not paying their taxes to a point where you have a threshold and then you take them to court.
I think there are laws. Again, I'm not sure, but I think there are laws, but I'm not sure if it's being enforced.
There are a lot of laws, bylaws for the city and for the city of Georgetown, right? And like you said, they're not enforced. People not paying rate and tax simply because they can't afford it. If you look at Sophia, go back to Sophia, there's still a lot of people in there that live in a deplorable condition. Most of these people, they can't hold a job or they get any knickknacks to do, pay $2,000, woman work all day, do maid work, washing pot, whatever is it for 2 hours. People exploit them so they can't afford.
Sophia is actually developed.
Okay, well, from what I know, right?
Sophia, if you walk through Sophia is actually developed.
Okay, well, I haven't been there in a while.
They have roads, big houses.
I'm glad you guys. Glad you guys are saying that. I want to come back to that a little later on another very, very important point concerning schooling and education. Right? I just wrote that down so we can discuss that. Now, another topic I'd like to talk about and we can discuss among ourselves is that in 2023, the police department, Guyana Police Force, said that there was a drop of about 20% crime in comparison to 2022. That's what they said. And they also said it's because of one of the reasons is because of the community policing group are coming together and they have drones now and they have body cameras, so they got a lot more cooperation to reduce crime. But what is absent from this is there's no granularity as to what crime was reduced. Was it armed robbery reduced? Was it break and enter reduced? Homicide, manslaughter, vehicular manslaughter, larceny, home invasion, rape, possession of narcotics, arms, trafficking in person, domestic abuse? So there's no breakdown as to, you said 20%, but there's a gravity of crimes. And there are different penalties for different crimes. There are misdemeanors and there are felonies. Mm-hmm. So there was no distinction, at least we haven't seen anything out in the public domain about that. Then you often wonder, and I've asked this before, that how do they compile these data? What kind of statistical method do they use? Do they use quantitative method, qualitative method, a hybrid of that? Do they use cluster sampling? Do they use random sampling? Or do they just take the reports that are made into the different police stations or other places like that to come up with their statistics? Javi, you're into security. How about showing some light on that?
Well, one of the things is the metrics they use to measure crime is the previous year before. So let me say we had 130 murder for 2023. If we get, at the end of this year, if we get 110, we get some decrease on there.
By 20.
We get you 6 or 7% decrease in murder. That's how they measure it.
Hold that thought there. So you specified one thing. Let's say that's homicide, right? Good. But homicide carries a stiffer and a far greater penalty than a break and enter or larceny. So telling us that there's a 10% reduction in homicide is what we're looking for, or a 15% reduction in armed robberies, how you want the breakdown to be, not an overall, overarching umbrella of 20% reduction. What do you think now?
I mean, for the times that I usually look at newspaper, every time they talk about reduction in crime, is every year we having a reduction. But if it asks the common man, if they feel that way or it's true, they'll tell you no.
Okay, well,
so I don't understand how come every year crime keep reducing in Guyana. But when you open the papers, there's so many things you're seeing happening. Also, as you mentioned, in terms of look at how many accidents we have in. Another whole topic by itself.
Yes. And I'm glad you said that. Let's segue into another. Thank the government and the opposition to actually agree to the speed camera enforcement. That they're having the speed camera enforcement. So that hopefully people will be cognizant that the cameras are actually checking that they're speeding, where they have the seat belts, etc., etc. Which brings me to another point with that. We also look at problems, but we also look for solutions. Right? You see, we can lambast the government or we can lambast the opposition or problems being created. But are we offering solutions? It's called constructive criticism when we offer solutions along with our criticism. So in this case of the speed camera, all well and good. We're all for it. You know that tickets, they said it's going to go on your phone at your home, and then subsequently they'll probably be sending a paper ticket to your address and record on your driver's license. But would they have, set up night courts so to deal with this kind of problem? Because you'll find a voluminous amount of tickets and people are there, but they don't have enough of a court for actually going to pay the fines, or whether it's far more severe than that to see a magistrate or somebody. But would they have set up night courts to mitigate this volume of tickets which will be issued or should be issued?
Let's just hope that they'll probably do that, because of recent, you see, they would have swearing a lot of new judges.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a good thing. And as you said, you got to give credit where credit is due. So let's just hope that when the speed cameras do go into effect, we do have judges dealing with that matter. Because, I mean, when you get a ticket and you got to go to the court, sometimes you spend whole day. And then your jacketing and call up, you gotta come back and all this. If you say it could be time wasting or time burden, so if they're gonna have, so once I'm for the system to be implemented. Let's get that off, right? Because there's so many things happening on our roadways, right? So for a system like that, once it do go into effect, let's hope that they have maybe in every area maybe 6-7 judges dealing with that matter, the court over in Essequibo there, so instead of just, having everybody just come in one place, or we're going to regular court, but it's very long time, you can deal with it, maybe have a system in place, whereas you have the MMG where you can pay certain bills.
Yeah.
So if now a ticket do come to your phone, and you got your picture and prove that it was you speeding or you're driving without your seat belt, you can pay that fine.
Yes. So you create
pay it online too with your bank card.
With your bank cards and so forth.
Because talking about that night court, I remember in 2007 where we had a walk up because of the busy traffic they used to hold court nighttime at Providence.
Okay.
You remember that, right? Yeah, it was 2007 World
Okay.
Cricket World Cup when we had to use some night court down there because the court couldn't keep during the day because of the busy traffic.
All the time.
Because in the 50 over game, we got to start at 9 o'clock for the game, so the road would be busy and the noise would affect them. So it worked because more was done during the night than is actually done in the day. And you get a backlog because one magistrate court dealing with 200 cases per year or 300 cases per year in a specified area. It's not like every village get a magistrate court. Like Diamond is a very big area. And Grove Magisterial District going to cover the entire Diamond because it extended the entire Grove new housing scheme. So we're talking about a few couple more thousands and small petty crime summary, and then you mentioned about indictable offenses. The summary will be like if I slap you, if I cuss you, disturbance of the peace, breach of peace and things like that, right?
Yeah, and one thing that Neil said just now that resonates with us all. He said that when the government or the opposition does something well, we praise them. And when they don't do something well, we hold their toes to the fire. That is Anug's mantra. We are into nation building. We feel what's good for one segment of the population is good for the other segment of the population. What's good for one ethnicity is also good for the other ethnicity, various ethnicities. We are never here to point fingers. We are all here to collaborate. We're not here to build walls. We're here to build bridges, so we can meet each other and we can look for solutions to universal issues that affect and afflicts all Guyanese.
If we look after every area, like your area, the Williams, where I live, where I live, there will be no need to say there is racism within any government because you're being fair to every citizen of this country. So if you look after Eccles, you look after Kitty, you look after Quarantine, the 19, and you look after Sisters Village, you look after New Amsterdam, everywhere equally, and give equal treatment, then there will be, nobody can be blamed for racism. Because in multiracial communities, you can't say anything because you from one race, and both of you receive the same treatment. So I can't go and say, well, you're looking after Niall or you're looking after Jonathan. You know what I mean?
Great. And there's something else I was thinking that we have license, and if they don't pay, perhaps even the judges, let's say they never turned up for the court date or whatever it is, you can always do a suspension on their license. Or revoke their license, revocation of their license if they, reach a threshold where they haven't paid a fine and so on. So I wonder. So these are little things to create efficiency and to generate income to the treasury.
You see, things that I'm not here to bash anybody, right? But what I find is that the traffic department start one thing, they start hot and sweaty, and then give it. Let's just say they do enforcement for 1 month or 2 weeks, and then it's gone. And then you gotta wait till a year or two, and then they're gonna come back and try with the same enforcement. It's like nothing continuous. Right? So I mean, yes, as I mentioned before, I'm happy that we're gonna have some system being placed there, to protect the citizens. Because we have a lot of, I'm not sure if I should use this word, but wild drivers on the road. I mean, it's scary as a driver when you're driving. Right?
I'm glad you said that because I think Mr. Robinson Ben came out the other day and said that anybody who has on, and this is a sore point, anybody who has on illegal police flashing lights and siren and stuff like that, they would be stripped or should be stripped, and they're going to look at the dealers or the importers who are bringing this stuff. So I kind of find it like difficult how these things would pass through customs in bulk to be able to be put into the vehicles. So I live on the West Coast, and there's a nightmare with the traffic coming towards the bridge. Lo and behold, I'm coming on one side, the other side is clogged, and all of a sudden there's a vehicle coming on my side. And they had the flashing lights on. You don't know if it's a government vehicle, you don't know if it's a police vehicle. So for me, I always say in my head, if it's a police vehicle, you have the flashers on and the siren on. Not just one or the other, the flash and the siren. But some of these guys just have the flashers on and you don't know where to pull over in the corner, whether to stay there, whether to give them a pass. These are the things that we expect them to tackle, the road users, and to stop the abuse also. Then you have the reckless drivers. They would overtake you just to pull over in the driveway. They will double park. I was coming today to go onto Water Street. and it's Lamaha continuation of Water Street. It's a two-way street, yet they were clogged on both sides, trying to overtake each other on that little piece over there. So yes, the traffic police needs to do a better job, or look at a sensitive area to ensure that there's a smooth flow of traffic. West Coast, for example, and I can speak more so from West Coast, from Parika to Freedom Hoop is only about, let's say, 21, 22 miles. I have hardly seen police with motorcycles actually patrolling that area back and forth. Maybe in the mornings you'll find them like from Crane would patrol all the way sometimes to the bridge, just like that. But during the day, there's hardly anybody patrolling to see, well, the people are obeying the law. So the visibility of the police is needed not only in the rush hours, but in the non-rush hours, because there's always the errand driver trying to overtake, and by doing so, I believe there will also be a decrease in the amount of vehicular accidents there are around.
So you're saying we need more highway patrol.
Yeah, basically,
Patrol, because one of the things is that we look at when we look at reckless driving or dangerous driving, right? Like this afternoon, I was going home in the bus. We was in the back road, and this other guy was raised in the bus that I was in. The guy was driving now, but he so badly want to overtake in this traffic that he come on the outside and they hit the turn, and he go outside on the turn, and the incoming traffic, he had to stop and wait back and delay the whole traffic from that and the incoming traffic for cut back into the line. And he keep doing that on the back road all the time. So I had to spoke to the driver next to me. I say, yo, you calm down, let the man go along anyway.
Well, what you're saying there is only a small sample
right,
of what's happening in the entire Guyana. It seems to be a culture where speed is the king. The pedal to the metal, it seems to be the king. It seems to be a culture. That's something that the police really have to talk about. What is it, Neil?
I mean, look, for instance, just now I'm coming here. I'm coming down Arby Barker Road, and there's a minibus full with passengers speeding coming up Arby Barker Road. So we literally, because, you know, they've been doing that road, Arby Barker Road, for a long time now. And so I'm talking between the exit to KIAN. So they're doing some work there, so the road is kind of bad. And this bus is speeding, a south bus, with passengers inside. So sometimes we as passengers contribute to some of these things, because I sure nobody in that bus say, hey, you need to slow down. So we literally had to go up on the parapet for that bus pass because of the speed that he's driving with.
Yeah.
All right. And, you know, as I said, I just hope that the Guyana Police Force can, you know, I think they're doing some work, but there's always room for improvement.
Not doing enough.
Right?
And now to your point, I'm hoping that our audience who's actually listening to this can socialize these kind of messages to their friends or the people that they know in the police department, where their politicians listen to this, and they can also talk to the Minister of Home Affairs, etc., to get this message out. Because let me tell you, the speeding car don't care if you're Koli, you're black, you're Chinese, Portuguese, Douglas, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, it doesn't really matter. They hit you. There's no distinction there. So this affects us all, not just one segment of the population. It affects us all. Okay? I want to change it and talk about another topic. And this involves you and why I was sitting as a teacher. And I had a look at the composition of Guyana's population. And it looks like we are almost evenly distributed between men and women in the population. But yet in the workforce and in the teaching establishment, there are more females than males, especially in the teaching establishment. And also we notice there seems to be either a resurgence or a continuation of elevated alcohol consumption, especially amongst our youthful population. And on top of that, the quote-unquote rum culture seems to be totally out of whack. For example, and I wrote it down, the rum culture has a song, rum till I die, rum kill me mother, rum kill me father, rum kill me sister too. And they seem to accentuate and use this as a proud way of communicating alcohol consumption, imbibing. It's an in thing, it's an okay thing. But then look at all of the other ancillary events that happens after the consumption of alcohol. Spousal abuse, accidents, and don't let me get even more into that, but those are two of the main topics there are that actually emanates out of alcohol consumption. Now, for the youthful population, Neil, what can we as Guyanese, as the government, as civil society, as parents, as teachers, as your imam, your pastor, your pandit, what can we do to reduce the consumption of alcohol, especially amongst the youthful population? Because if you start as a youth, chances are you will take that into adulthood. Go ahead,
As
now.
you mentioned in terms of parents, I don't know if I have, the answer or the full solution to that. But it starts from within the home. Also, we need to have laws that are very strict on that. I mean, if you look at the USA, you're not allowed to drink until you're 21.
Right.
And in Guyana here, I can send a 10-year-old or I can send a 9-year-old to the shop, the car shop, and get a
Young
beer.
girl, child too.
And get a beer. Right? I mean, it's a trickle effect. It means that the government have to put some system in place to deal with persons who selling young people these alcohols.
But they have laws in
Right?
place.
Well, again, you see, that means it is not.
How about the enforcement?
It's not being
Right.
Right.
enforced.
No, they got laws
Right?
prohibition from selling alcohol and cigarette to minors.
Yeah, I
But
remember.
it's not enforced.
I remember Anand Nandalal came out and he pronounced that. He pronounced that without any fear or without any favor. He did say that these laws are and the fines were absolutely much higher also. And he was very adamant about that. But like you said, enforcement
yeah.
would be the issue, not the laws, the enforcement.
Also, you mentioned the song Ram Teladai. Then we have to censor these things then that are being played on the radio, things that are being shown on the television, right? Because, I mean, if you censor that and don't allow those things to be shown or those things to be played, because look, for instance, recently I was watching the news where the King Charles, is putting a ban on them advertising fast food to kids. So very soon in England, they cannot advertise fast food to children.
I was working in Iceland, and when I looked around, there was no KFC, there was no McDonald's, there's no Burger King. The only fast food that we knew of a chain was Subway. So I went in once, and I spoke to the mayor at that in Reykjavik, and they said that they were approached. But they told them that you have to use the beef that we have on the island itself, our island grown, and they refused to do that. So he says, no, we don't want you then. Flat out, plain and simple, straight. Reykjavik has what? Iceland has about 500,000 people. They said, unless you use the product that we have on our island, we're not going to allow you to import your product, because they know that sometimes the cholesterol, because of what negative effects the salt and the consumption of the meat or the processing would have on the children. Coming back to your point, right? How do you think, Neil, as a teacher?
Also, not cutting you,
Go
but
ahead,
also, we need to have our young people involved in sports. If you have them involved in sports and you have programs set up for them, it will definitely take the mind away from these things. I understand as a teenager you're being peer pressure to do all sorts of things, right? I mean, there are some programs I know the government would have had set up, but I remember as a youngster growing up, the church plays a really big role in terms of the community. So what happened into the church? Are the churches going into the community and doing the work that they're supposed to do? Also, as a parent, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I'm thinking that you will talk to your children, right? Also, I'm not sure within the public school if there are topics addressing these type of issues. I mean, I come from a private institution. I can talk from my institution. We have programs that deals with this. Right, but the government institution, I really can't say, well, they have a system or so. But as we mentioned before, it seems as though we have a lot of laws. We have everything in place just to make Guyana better, but it's not being, enforced, and that's a breakdown. So, if things are not being enforced, we just become lawless. We just continue to do, whatever we want to do. So I mean, my simple suggestion is that let's put systems in place. If we have the young people involved in different type of sports, and in those sports groups, I'm sure that they will have different topics they will talk and discuss that will help you as a young person. But let's face reality, how many community have a ball field or a cricket pitch, or have certain youth groups and things happening? You don't really hear about that much. I mean, if you go up on the seawalls on a Sunday night, we see a lot of young people out there, right? I mean, maybe that's one place for the government to start targeting, have little booths set up to attract them to come, I mean, even if you save one, that one will go and spread your message.
And y'all coming back to that again, are you saying that that having this group interaction with the different sports and the disciplines there are will prevent things like drug abuse and alcoholism and stuff?
Yes, because
company.
Not only that, because if I can only talk for the sports that I'm involved in, right? I mean, and I will think for most of the different disciplines, you're being tested. So if I'm going, let's say I'm going to take football and I want to be a professional footballer, I know for a fact that I need to be disciplined because I might be tested at some time. I know for track and field, at any time you can be tested by water, so you know that certain things you will not involve yourself in. And if you're going to use sports as your tool, because we need to see sports as a business. We can't see this thing as a amateur thing or just doing this thing for fun. This thing is a business, right? So if you're gonna do it as a business, you're gonna do, and this is what bringing home the money to take care of you and your family. You're gonna do everything that is possible to prevent the outside elements to affect your daily bread.
You said something that struck a chord in my memory. That having the kids involved in sports, and I'm a big advocate for both male and female to have volleyball, cricket, badminton, whatever it is, to engage them in activities that would keep them off the street or keep them from engaging in alcoholism or drug use or drug abuse. Because to feed these habits, you have to get money. Where do you get the money if you have parents who are working and I'm sure if they're not extraordinarily rich and they have to eke out their daily bread to look after an entire family? The kids will resort to stealing. For drug use. The neighbor, they'll pick up your pot, your karahi, your pan, you steal your bread, your clothes off your line, you watch when you've gone to work or school, break into your house, steal your TV, you bought your TV for $40,000, sell it for $2,000. They don't really care. They want the money to either consume alcohol or the drugs involved.
Sometimes they get some of these things from the friends.
And for friends also.
Right. One of the things is from age 13 to 16, right? When you were young, we all were young men.
Yes.
And we always wanted to be part of something.
Yeah.
And the group that accept us, that's what we're going to be part of.
Peer pressure.
Now, if there, like Niall said, if there is sport and facilities in the community, children, when you're young, you like sports. Believe me.
Yeah.
Even if it's softball, you have to play. If you got to run behind a cricket ball all day while them big boys batting, you're going to do that because you're feeling welcome and involved. But when you don't have those things, the other guys on the corner that is smoking weed or drinking or gambling, they can call you in when you're passing from school. You stand up and hey, run and buy 2 cigarettes there for me. Run and buy a front too. You understand?
What's in front of buddy?
And you understand what I'm saying now?
Okay.
So now you become their runner-by, and then when 2 years from now, you start gambling too. And then you start taking a pull from a weed or drink a beer or you get a quarter in the
And it comes to another point here too, that we say sometimes we're economically dispossessed. We don't have enough. We not have enough money. But then sometimes I harken back to the high school dropout. And the rate of high school dropout and the consistency of the high school dropouts. And I did ask a question once: isn't either the Ministry of Education or Social Service would have a policing group? If a guy is standing at Reading Hoop, hanging out at 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning, he's supposed to go to Western Secondary School and he's supposed to be in school at 8:30. What is he doing hanging out at the corner there?
enforcement.
Enforcement. That's what I was asking.
Enforcing of the law that are in place. There are laws in place for every of these things that we're discussing. But the enforcement, like Niall was saying, that when the traffic police start something, they don't. The Ministry of Education and Social Stuff used to start if a child is show up to school, you report it to them, and they crack down on it.
Yeah.
You know, children will be home because now the government is actually paying you to send your children to school.
I'm glad you're saying that, because here's the other side of it.
No.
It may look like you want to close your eyes and the thing is going to disappear. But that same child that wasn't checked on to say if they're going to go to school or not may become recalcitrant, may not become, truancy may be part of it, not going to school. And that child doesn't graduate from school and needs food and everything else like everybody else, will probably find a job, a menial job, which can't even support them if it is a job that they find. Or there may not be any job available because they don't have any particular skill set. What do you do then? You become a carpetbagger at home, you stay with your parents and expect your parents to quote unquote mind you? I mean, you know, or you try to go on the welfare or go begging or go borrowing from other people. And when you do that, you overburden the welfare system, the judicial system, you overburden the coffers because you still have to pay. This child is not going to go away. The child needs all the necessities of any other person, whether you're working or not. So where do we draw that line? Yeah, you know, some ethical response. Oh, they're gonna pick me. You gotta cater for them. Yeah, but what are you getting in return? Again, it comes back to the enforcement issue. If somebody was going to say, hey, kids, you got to go to school, you must be in school at so-and-so time, or the teacher called, hey, John Doe didn't come to school today, or Miss Mary didn't come to school today. Is Miss Mary okay? Is John Doe okay? These are things that can be enacted or put in place that would decrease truancy.
I think teachers do report these different things, right?
Action.
Again, as Jaffe rightfully say, right? Because it's a right for a child to be educated.
Yeah,
that's part of a child's right. You know, but at the end of the day, everything that we discussed so far, it comes right back to enforcing.
What is there?
Right? Enforcing. I mean, I've seen the government have different programs where once you attend these programs, you'll get a stipend. They got Board of Industry and all these things. We even have and this organization don't really mention a lot, but they're doing a great work in Sophia. You have the Morsi Wings Vocational and Daycare Center that provide I would say a free education to the youths of Sophia, where you come, you learn a trade and all these different things. So they give a second chance to you in terms of you to develop yourself and go on, right? But the thing is, even we as adults, if we walk and we see a child on the road at 9:30, we know that child's supposed to be in school. I mean, as a youngster growing up, if you see an adult and you on the road at that time, you don't want no adult see you. You're going to run and go to school because the adult would have hollered and don't chase you inside there. But now persons are afraid to say anything to anybody because you're going to talk to the child. The child don't like it. They might attack you. And then they may go home and tell the parents. And then the parents come and attack you as well. So sometimes all these things trickle right back to the household.
All right. I'm a product of Queen's College. So here's for you, Niall, as a teacher. How about having a Queen's College atmosphere and a Queen's College school with top quality teachers, etc. in FM? What do you think about that? Because I do believe, as we stand here, that President College would have afforded folks to come from the hinterland area because they have a dorm there, right? I'm saying instead of having the kids there, coming into Georgetown, so to speak. How about us, or the Department of Education or Government of Guyana, open a Queen's College-like atmosphere in a place like Lethem or some other place, a little town someplace else? What is it now?
My thing is that I feel everybody should have equal opportunity. Everybody, right? I'm a product of Campbellville Secondary, or if you want to know Campbellville Secondary, and I know many others like me that come through Campbellville who doing extremely well, right? I mean, yes, we know Queen's College is the school in Guyana.
Right.
right? But for me, the same focus that we put on Queen's College and Bishops and Saints, we can put those same energy and efforts in other schools. Also, you mentioned earlier, there are not much males in the school system. So right there also, the Ministry of Education need to sit down and all the experts that they have, because they always know what to do and they always seems to have the answer. See why is it's not attracting young men to the teaching profession, because I believe that you need young men inside the school system to show the other young men that you can do it as well. So I think the same opportunity that is being given to Queen's College should be given to all the other schools. But what you'll find happening is that a certain class of people will be going to Queen's College. So you'll find that more resources will be pumped to Queen's College, or will be pumped to bishops or saints and these different things. And also, we have a lot of persons leaving the University of Guyana in social work. How many of them are in the school system? It's very, young people have a lot of challenges. They want somebody that they can trust. They want somebody that they can talk to. It's not every time you're comfortable talking to your parents or your uncle or even to your peers. Sometimes you just need somebody different to, speak to, right? Yeah. But are these I am assuming that they have all these resources, but are they known? Because if you have all these, if you have social workers and you can get at them at almost any time, it will help, stop some of these issues. Like we are talking about alcohol and substance abuse. Now, if we have counselors and these things inside the school system and they're talking about it and you can reach out to them, you will see a breakdown. Like how we seen a breakdown in crime and the police. When the other police force give the report that every year we've seen a reduction in crime.
But still crime was on the rise.
So
back in my days, I went to Rosenthal Secondary School, started in the late 80s, right? And I can remember three things that happened there. We had a lot of male teachers. I could probably remember about 12 to 15 of them out by me head right now. And I got called.
Out of how much? About how many? About 25?
About 30 or 33. So that was there were more, but I could only remember about 15. There were like about. The majority of the teachers in Rosenthal Secondary School in the late 80s was male.
Okay.
And we had two things in school. We had religious activities, which used to happen, I think, every second Friday afternoon, where Muslims will gather together, Hindus will gather together, Christian. In the school, that was part of the school program. Christians, Hindu, and they would get pastor would come and they would teach you a little bit. The Muslim would come and teach you a little bit, and a Hindu priest or something would come and teach you a little bit. But as the years go down from 88, 89, 90, 91, those started to diminish. And the next thing that we had was every Friday, I think the last period was sports. We were divided into 4 houses. These houses in school. We had Downer, we had Phoenix, we had Robson, and Samaru. That was the 4 houses in Rosenthal Secondary School. They probably must change over the years, right? But every Friday you will go to your respective house, get team meeting, and they'll start preparing you for sports. From the September, they'll start preparing you for inter-house sports.
The curriculum embraced not only education, academic,
but it cater for religion and it cater for sports.
Yes.
Right? So I don't know if there's a lost art.
I see what you're
right?
saying.
So that's one of the programs they could reintroduce, right?
We have audiences here who probably have children who falls in any one or all of these categories that we're talking about. And many of them also probably belong to the PTAs of the respective schools that their children are going at. We're hoping that some of the things we're discussing here will resonate with them. And they will articulate that in their PTAs, with their school or in the school activity. Because if we want a grassroots movement, we want traction from the grassroots. It starts from John and Jane Doe from the grass, but we're all taxpayers. It starts from them asking and requesting of the teaching establishment of the schools where the children are going, do we have this? Do we have this? Can we look into this? Can we look into that? Can we have sports? Can we have this? but it has to come from the need, and the want should come from the children, either through the PTA or engagement with the teaching facility of whichever school their children are going at. Once you strike a chord there, and the HM or the DHM or the HOD head of department see that there is a resolute need because more than one person is asking for this, maybe they will take stock of this and then push it up to the Minister of Ed or the region, whoever it is, to have a look at that. What do you think, Niall?
I know for sure, right? Within the government system, right? September, October, November, school sports, or we call Nationals School Championship. And that's a big thing, right? Also, I know I think it used to be the Digicel football competition. I know they have cricket competition and these things. So I know
They used to have the Pee football.
So I know the Ministry of Education do have some sporting programs, right? I'm not sure if every school though is involved in all of these things. I'm not sure if every school do physical education, and I believe that in every school system, physical education is important.
Yeah.
Right, as Javi just mentioned, in back in his days in school, you had religious education, if you want to call it that. I'm not sure in the government system if that is happening. I mean, from my vantage point or where I'm located, we have religious ed in our school system.
At Queen's College, when I was going there, we also had that. We did French, English, Spanish, Latin, and we also had religious knowledge as a subject by itself. Mr. Chinnapan, I think, used to teach us religious knowledge back in our days. So yes, you're right, Javid. We used to have that in school.
Religion is very important in every community. Some people don't believe in God. Some people believe in God in whatever way. Some believe Jesus is God, Muhammad is prophet. Some believe in Allah. Some believe in Ram. You know, these are kind of things. But it doesn't matter what you believe in. Religion is important and it's part of our culture. And once as a parent, you should teach your children that religion, right? As Niall said, it starts from home.
And it increased tolerance.
Yeah.
It increased tolerance, not only religious tolerance, but it increases your understanding of somebody else's religion.
It changes your way of thinking.
Dynamics,
because
right? You know, you got a broad perspective on the difference between right and wrong. Because if I could speak from the...
I mean, I'm joking. When somebody is confused, Diwali with Pagwali,
but when you look at this, you got a broader perspective. You know the difference between right and wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you know that drinking can be wrong according to the Bible, and you know these things. But growing up,
also you'll get to learn about other religion, other person's religion, and you'll be able to respect that person's religion, because sometimes discussing religion, it can cause war.
I went to Bible school, right?
But learning other person's religion, you respect each other, and you have a level playing field.
Yeah, you have the last word, Javid, and I don't want to move.
What happened? I went to Bible school, and we do our religion too.
Yeah.
So Rastafarian, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, you name it. I did that, right? But growing up as a young man, I learned to respect other people's religion. The same effort I put into believing in my religion, I respect you that you put the same effort. And God is this, and we choose whatever way we want to worship God. And the basic problem is that we know something, right? And it broaden or enlighten you as a child growing up. You're going in this path, right? And that's just about it. Teach a little bit religion. All the children going to school, let her do a trade.
Yeah.
You understand? Not necessarily depend on the government. You get enough mechanic shop spirit. You understand? All the country.
Right now, you actually need those kind of things because of the upswing or the upsurge of...
We can't depend upon government for be more than part of everything.
No. You have to you got to lift yourself by your higher self.
Your children, you have to take control of them. Because if you're going to depend upon government for everything, they're going to become more than father, and government going to get control over you. Because they're going to tell you that only me can give you this water. You understand?
Are we going to rely on it? Are we going to rely?
So we got to rely on you.
Are we going
so
to
we
rely
can
on
turn off the fight whenever to control you. Said that we have to be in government because if we're not in government, we're not going to get this water.
That's the Pavlov theory.
Yes, sir.
Pavlovian theory.
No, it's just a fact.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We're giving people the fish, but we are not teaching them how to fish.
Right. See,
we want you to depend on us.
They eat for a day and they starve for a lifetime.
I know, come on.
Let me jump hoops again and let's talk about something else that it's positive and negative. There was a recent fiasco about the Mohammed Enterprise, and there was a difference of $210,000, I think, in a contract that to build, I think, was a fire station or something like that, right? And there's a big article in social media, in the newsprint, about how it was $210 million. They were given this contract about $200 million over the engineer's estimate. And for a couple of days, the whole of Guyana probably was pointing fingers at the Mohammeds and the government about how this can happen. And there were other bids that's equal to a little bit more, a little bit less, and was published of the engineer's estimate. And I'm sure everybody, most likely, for one way or another, by omission or commission, think that the government did give this contract out to the Mohammed Enterprise. When the government, and this was on July 7th, I wrote the date down. And on July 11th, then the government came out there and said, it was a typographical error. Which brings me, Niall and Javid, to think of something.
A big typography.
How the hell are you going to make a $210 million?
It's too big of a mistake.
Yes.
1-0.
Yeah, and not only that, where is it quality check people who are supposed to check this information? The second thing is, was there, the people who put this information out or put it out, was there any reprieve for them, or did they receive any kind of punishment? When I mean punishment, were they talked to? Were they reprimanded for something like this? We don't know. It's not in the public atmosphere, the public sphere. The second thing is, not so long ago, oh, and then Mohammed did come up in the same province, said that he did some extra work that was beyond the scope of the contract itself. Was probably added on afterwards. But that is not even the crux of it. How can you make a $210 million mistake, man?
Typo?
Huh?
Yeah.
And who's watching, like I said, where's the quality control? Then the other day, Ministry of Natural Resources, when they reduced that relationship amount with Exxon, it was about another $200 million. When they broke it down and then they said it was they made a mistake. Where are the quality control people? I'm citing two specific examples that are in the public domain of our government, who's supposed to have bright and enterprising people. And this is public information going out to the public. And the government should be reminded that they won this election by 1 seat only. Not 10, not 15, 1. And you have people working in the government, I'm sure that they're receiving our taxpayers' dollars again at a hefty sum to make these egregious mistakes, and there's nobody in the departments to correct it before it comes out in the public domain. What do you have to say about that, Niall? And then you, Javid.
Honestly, sometimes when you have nuts in certain position, you get what you put there. I mean, that's a big error. And how could you make such a big mistake? I mean, something that don't sit right.
And you further ruin people's reputation in Mohammed case.
That don't sit right. I mean, so at the end of the day, enforcement, check-in, it's just, it's whatever I write, whatever I do, and I just send it out there, and that's it. Let's just say the media did made a mistake. Let me just put this blame now on the media for making that mistake. Then that media house or whoever would have put this out should have come back and retract the statement.
And we got a couple of minutes more. I want to talk about something else. Now, I want the public to understand and be aware that every billboard that Exxon puts up, every cricket match that is sponsored, anything that is sponsored, any school program that is sponsored, the Guyana government pays for that. They send that bill to the Guyana government, and the Guyana government, that's us, pays for that. Anything that they do, when you think they're doing something free for Guyana, they are not doing anything free for Guyana. They're advertising themselves, they're goody two shoes, they're this, they're that for Guyana. The government of Guyana pays for that.
That's part of the expense.
In the 2016 PSA that the PPP inherited from the previous administration, in that contract, the production agreement, Guyana paid in 2023 $658 million US dollars taxes for Exxon. You know how much is $658 million US dollars? It's $131 billion Guyana money. $131,600,000,000 Guyana money in 1 year. Do you know how much that money could have gone for so many services in Guyana?
I think after this this program towards the name will be mentioned with this.
And there's another good, and then there's another something I want to add to that. In 2023, Guyana received 1.62 billion US dollars in terms of revenue coming in from the oil and gas, or oil in this case here. Now, my question again, which I don't have an answer for, but I wish the government would put a public statement on that. The $658 million that was paid, the taxes that was paid for the U.S. government, did it come out from the $1.62 million that we received? Did it come out from the $1.62 billion US dollars that we received, the $658 million Neil and Javi that was paid, the taxes that were paid? Did it come out from that? Because if it came out from $1.26 billion, it has considerably reduced the amount of money we would have received from our oil patrimony.
I don't have the answer for that, and definitely that's something that we will definitely.
Yeah, I wish the government can clarify that for us.
Right. As I said, maybe you might get some clarification towards the whenever a press conference is being held.
Yeah, I like who was the press conference? Mr. Barjagdeo?
Right.
Yeah, I wish you would say this. We need to know that the public needs to know your taxpayer dollars are being spent for every single thing here, including their salaries. Your taxes, my taxes, and every single John Q. public guy is paying taxes to Mr. Jagdeo, the entire government. They are what we call servant leaders. They should be answered the questions. If the questions are framed properly, they should be answered the question in a genial manner and give the information. If they don't have the information, tell the people, I do not have that information, but I will get that information and I will then let you guys know the information. That if I don't, we don't expect them to have or they to have all the answers, but we expect that they will find the answers and then transmit that information in public media, in the social media. Okay? We have a couple of minutes. Neil, what else do you have to say? Anything else about this whole thing we talked about?
One of the things is now you gotta look at with them quickly. We talk about enforcement.
Yeah.
It's accountability.
Transparency and accountability.
If you are a government and feel that you're not accountable to the citizens or the people that vote you or to the taxpayer, we're not going to go nowhere. You understand? Accountability.
Neil?
What I want to tell individual there that looking at this program, come 2025 is a very important year. It's the year of the elections, and Anuk will be contesting those elections. I can guarantee you that if you give us your vote and we get a few seats in parliament, we will represent this nation. It is time that the third party stand out. And that third party that should stand out to represent your interests, our interests, is a new united Guyana. So come 2025, you know where to put your X. Because as long as we inside there, we're going to ask questions, we're going to fight. We're going to put it out there. As of recent, and even before, we have always try our best to represent each and every person, and we always ask the tough questions.
We may not have the money or the resources or the photo opportunities or the public social media that other behemoth political organizations have, but we have heart and our soul and transparency and accountability, and you hold us to every single thing that we try to do to increase the quality of life for every single Guyanese. ANOG is into nation building. We are not partisan. We are not holding anybody else to anything that we cannot do ourselves. We ask you to give us this opportunity to show you what we can do. We don't want much, like Neil and Javid said. A couple of seats to change the balance, the dynamics between the two behemoth party is all we are asking for. Give us a chance to make a difference in your lives, in the lives of your children, in the lives of your children, and generations to come. I know there may be a couple of sour notes in people's minds, and there may be some nightmarish things going through their head from third parties, mismanagement in the past. We acknowledge that. But we're not that third party, we're ANUG. We started small, and we're growing exponentially every single day. We have not had the opportunity to represent you in Parliament, but hold our toes to the fire if you give us your vote. Like I said, we will not have all the resources from the other people, but we want you to help us so we can have enough seats to make a difference.
Transparency and accountability is what ANUG is about.
Yeah.
We want to be transparent about what we're doing, and we want the nation to hold us accountable for what we do. So that is two of the things.
Yes, and folks, for the listening public, I would like you to socialize what we're seeing here with your friends, with your peers, with the people at your workplace, your social settings. We would like you to socialize this kind of information with them and let them understand what ANUG stands for. We are for you, the people. We don't care what ethnicity you belong with or to. What is your social standing? What is your economic standing or lack thereof? We represent you as long as you're born in this country and you're entitled to whatever this country has to offer. We are more than determined to ensure that you are given your dues. That's all we can ask, and that's all we can promise. We look holistically at issues, and we look for resolutions to these issues. We'll probably get a lot of pushbacks from different organizations, from private individuals, from different political groups. That is understandable, but we are holding firm to the position that we have, and we maintain that position, that we are unswayed, and we are not swerving from our mantra of alleviating the things that people are suffering from, and for alleviating and adding quality to your life. The prior government did not have the oil wealth to manage. So whatever this government is actually putting out, they are not taking it out of their pockets. It's your patrimony, your tax dollars. They are merely managing it for all Guyanese. They are managing it for all Guyanese. So when they build a school here or do something fancy there, money's not coming out of their pockets. It's the utilization of the oil money as well as the tax dollars and any other funds that comes into the coffers or the treasury of the government of Guyana. With that being said, we thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning into our discussion. And if our discussion resonates with you on the different levels or the different topics we speak about, tell others about it. That's the only way we can get a groundswell and have things moving in a positive direction. Because what affects you today will affect your child tomorrow and your grandchildren the day after. We thank you very much for your time, and may God bless you all. Thank you.